When we think about sustainability and generating positive impact in the world, we usually imagine big and complex solutions created top-down from industries, governments, and institutions to individuals. And even though these solutions are essential, I'd like to shed some light on a change that is happening. It's the power arising from individuals and regular people in creating movements towards a more sustainable world. I would like to think my story is one example of that. One day, I decided I wanted to help people to share things instead of buying them. By things, I mean like regular objects like household appliances and sports gear, clothes, things like that. And what started as a project I made in a piece of cardboard in my condominium in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil became in 3 years the biggest platform for neighbors to share things in Latin America, featured by the main media outlets such as Forbes, for example. So how did I manage to do that? When I was a teenager, I used to work as a model. And basically my job was to use my image to help reinforce the narrative that the way to satisfy our most basic human needs was through basic human needs such as love, acceptance, connection, safety, and even fulfillment was through buying more things. And that was before I understood all the consequences of that consumption. So first of all, I don't think consuming is a problem itself. But the thing is, as a society, we totally passed normal levels. We are now hyper-consuming. It takes now 1.6 Earths to provide the resources we use and to absorb our waste. And even though making product design and the production chain more sustainable is extremely important, we should also be talking about how our personal and individual choices have the power to influence the economy and actually create more sustainability. I'll give you an example. Author Rachel Botsman said that a simple object like a drill is used usually from 12 to 13 minutes in its entire life. So imagine that. This thing is created probably using minerals and natural resources from Africa. It's assembled in India or China, probably under bad work conditions. It uses resources and generates pollution in its transportation, distribution, so we can finally get to our homes, and then we barely use it? I bet in a 1 kilometer radius around your house, you can probably find thousands of those laying idle in your neighbors' homes. Not only drills, but an average house is filled with $3,000 worth of unused items. Now imagine the social and environmental impact created by millions of other objects. It became clear to me that the problem we have is not lack of resources. It's actually just a matter of relocating what's already available more efficiently. So back to when I started with this idea in a cardboard, I asked myself, what if instead of buying new goods we'll probably use once in a while, what if we borrow it from our neighbors, right? Oh, miracle answer. And then to test the idea, I decided to do what they call an MVP. I got a piece of cardboard and I drew columns like it was an Excel sheet. And I put down what's my name, what do I need, my apartment number, and my phone number. And I pasted it in the building hall without any authorization at 11 p.m. in the evening, hoping I wouldn't get caught, actually. And I asked for a plunger because I had a clogged sink. In about 15 minutes, I got a knock on my door. It was a friendly neighbor with a plunger in her hands and a big smile on her face. This was the beginning of Tem Açúcar, which is basically a platform that connects neighbors to share things, powered by the sharing economy and the gift economy. It also helps neighbors to collaborate. It means in English to have sugar. And through that, approximately 155,000 users in more than 10,000 neighborhoods in Brazil have shared thousands of objects for free, saving approximately $2.5 million worth of items that they avoided to buy. The impact generated by this simple action is actually huge. Shareable goods account for about a quarter of household expenditure and a third of household waste. So you basically save money and avoid 33% of your waste just by sharing things. Not bad, right? And besides that, you make your neighborhood more collaborative and friendly. This was done with zero investment, no previous knowledge, in a place that barely supports innovation. And it was only possible because there is a change of mindset happening. It's a change actually in power dynamics. You see, in the old days, the important and impactful decisions were usually taken in a room full of 50-year-old men. Am I right? And nowadays, they're also taken like that, but they're also happening in our homes, streets, and neighborhoods. They're happening at small daily actions at every purchase where we vote with our money and with our lifestyle choices in which world we want to live in. These decisions, especially the ones related to consumption, they have the power to change and impact whole industries. So understanding what are the values behind them actually can help private and public initiative to adapt so we can be better fit to this new reality. So first of all, who is behind all that decision making? Well, I dare to say the millennials. They're the ones pioneering this revolution. And their values, consumer choices, and preferences will shape the cities and the industries of the future. Partially because they're one of the largest generations in US history. And they're entering their prime spending years. I dare to say that the old ways no longer serves them. These generations, they just don't want to consume the ways previous generations did before. A study run by Goldman Sachs said that the must-haves of previous generations just aren't as important for them, and that they're putting off major purchases or avoiding them completely, such as cars, luxury goods, houses, all of that. Instead, they're preferring access over ownership. And they're looking for alternative ways to have access to what they need, such as trading, buying used goods, sharing things, and so forth. For them, consuming is a social and political act. And they value industries that have ethical production and that actually consider everyone and the environment too in the chain of what they're creating. They're being influenced by movements such as the low sumerism, minimalism, the slow movement, the fair trade movement, and the sharing economy. All of those are movements that actually talk about reducing consumption or consuming more ethically. And they're also being influenced by the do-it-yourself movement and the maker movement, which brings back the power of manufacturing to the hands of consumers. And this changes everything. We're basically changing from a disconnected worldview and a disconnected mindset to a connected one, and this has serious implications for all of us. The disconnected worldview generated those big boxes, stores from the past, very impersonal, that you can basically buy everything in there, with global reach, large scale, and very standardized products. And in the process, those big brands, big impersonal brands, they created a lot of externalities on the way. This created a reputation crisis. And these new generations just don't trust industries anymore. And the shift that is happening actually is now to an interconnected worldview. And this interconnected worldview values other things, such as community-based experiences, actually buying as a community experience. Personalization as well. It values local craft products made on small scale and generating positive impact. The thing is, with this reputation crisis that we all lived, now me as a consumer, I want to buy things from people I know. I want to buy things from the small producer that I know where those things are coming from, how they are made, and I know how it actually got to my house or to my plate. And I value the warmth that comes from the connection of face-to-face interaction that arises from daily rituals such as going to the street fair and actually buying my vegetables. In the way I meet a neighbor, I say hello to people, I actually connect to people. Consuming becomes a social act. Where does that leave things, actually, for us? Basically, I would say the industries and the public and private initiative that will thrive in the future are the ones that understand this new change in mentality and that can actually be resilient enough to shape their industries to adapt to these new values of more interconnectedness, of more sharing. Some companies today, they are more important and more powerful actually than governments. So I think it lies on them the possibility of creating really amazing changes. And I hope to see companies, public and private initiative, and regular people joining hands to create a future where we all want to live. Thank you.